Hello everyone and welcome back again to this Android development series, and as you can see here I've got my Java Eclipse is already up and running, and I hope that you already installed the ADT bundle which you already got from the Android developers website. In case if you haven't, please do so you can follow up with me in this lesson. And you could probably tell if you already have installed it that I'm using the regular Eclipse, because this is because I have when I've installed Android SDK, I've just installed everything separately. So I just downloaded Eclipse alone, so Eclipse Juno, the latest version. I just simply downloaded it. I downloaded the SDK and I installed it, and I installed the SDK stuff which I needed, and I have downloaded the ADT plugin and I installed it manual Eclipse and everything. So I've just installed everything manual. So that's why I get this Eclipse could be a little bit different when it comes to at least this icon, but pretty much everything should be the same layout, the same everything, because they just simply Google just took this Eclipse and they did their own work a little bit on it, so you got a little bit nicer, kind of friendly, and gives you some sort of Android-ish kind of look. So yeah, so this is it. Um, you can go ahead right away and you just go for File, New, Android Application Project, and here you could start typing the application name. So here, because I'm gonna be developing an application against a student service kind of a database, then we're gonna need to then I'm just gonna call it fit guide, and here at the package name I'm gonna call this com.fit guide dot and because this is the first package I'm creating, and my activity is actually gonna be going there, so I'm just gonna call this activities. You can call it UI if you want to, it's up to you. And in the minimum required SDK, you could pick up, as already said, probably we're gonna pick up Gingerbread because this is how far we're gonna support, and for sure probably quite soon we're gonna change this to a little bit higher version, because we're gonna utilize some of the newer features of user interface that Google is right now pushing. So we're gonna change this probably somewhere in the future for sure. I'm gonna show you where you're gonna change it. So I'm gonna hit next, and yes, please create for me an activity and create the custom launcher for me as well. So I'm gonna hit next, and as you can see here, I get the custom launcher icon for each the resolution. So for example, for a medium DPI, high DPI, X high DPI, XH DPI, and XXH DPI. So this is depends on your device. So probably if you're using a tablet with a very high resolution, then probably this operating system will immediately and automatically grab the icon that matches your screen resolution. So if you have a screen resolution with a very low density, then it will just pick up this icon. So it will ensure that your icon looks nice and clean and crisp for on all screen resolutions. So basically, since I don't have any launcher icons, I will leave it at that place and just go next. And yes, please create for me an empty blank activity and go next. And I will leave my activity as main activity. I'm just gonna call it main activity because this is actually my main entry point, so I'm just gonna leave it right there. I'm gonna hit finish, and you're gonna leave it for a second there because it starts loading and it's already done. So I'm gonna hit, minimize, and yeah, this is pretty much it. This is the this development environment, and this is how your first project should look like. Now let's see let's see, for example, the anatomy of our application. So if you look carefully, I've got my my source files, and as you can see, there's some sort of a separation in the world of source files and the resources. So starting up from source src, you get all your packages and stuff, and starting right from this Android generated files, starting from there up until here, these your resource files that describes your resources of your applications and describe your configurations of your application and so on. So yeah, if you go to gen and if you expand it here, you're gonna find our .java class, and please do not touch it. Okay, it's auto-generated file. It says do not modify. So again, please do not touch it, because whatever you're gonna do in there, it's gonna be just, you know, pointless. Because whenever you hit Control S, your project is being recompiled automatically and or rebuilt automatically, and on rebuild, your R file is being regenerated all the time. And your R file, by the way, is the class where you actually manage your you go through to point to your resources. So for example, if you look here at the res folder, let me collapse this. At the okay, yeah, actually at the resource folder, you have this layout. So this is your layout. This is actually a resource, and if you look here, you get a folder layout, which is, I mean, a class layout, which is the same as your folder, and it's a final, which is I believe the equivalent in C#, as far as I remember, the equivalent of sealed class, which means that you cannot inherit from it. And here you have a read-only, a static read-only resource parameter, which or class member, which has a pointer which points to this guy. And as I already mentioned in the previous lesson or a previous presentation, Android is kind of weird when it comes to managing resources, because they don't actually copy stuff to the memory. They just simply point at it, because they consider the flash drive and the RAM is almost at the same speed. They just simply like point at the resource as if it's an object in the memory and just deals with it. So you end up with this hexadecimal sort of addresses to your static addresses to your resources of your application. Okay, and you get almost for every folder, you get its own class. However, if you notice, you get drawable HDPI, and you get like 1, 2, 3, like 6 or 5 or 6 folders for drawables, but you get here one class, and this is because your operating system or Android in general, as you know, this SDK will actually, yes, the operating system will grab the icon appropriate based on your screen resolution. As you can see here, it is actually different folders, but the same file name. But of course, they are different in terms of content, but they are the same file name. So so Android will refer to it as the icon launcher or IC_launcher, and it will just simply pick it up based on the resolution of your screen. Collapse, 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 collapse. And yeah, this is the layout. I'll just simply collapse it. And this is your menus, by the way. If you have any menu, if you own an Android device, if you hit the menu button, you will get the menu popping up. This is it. And if you are using an emulator, probably you have as well the menu button somewhere in your menu button. Is actually not on the hardware anymore, because somehow Google is trying to get rid of it, and you can see it already in their latest phones. So Nexus 7, the tablet, doesn't have the menus button anymore. Nexus 4 doesn't have it. Many other Android devices don't have it, starting from Ice Cream Sandwich and up. So so basically, you're gonna get the you're gonna get the menu somewhere at the action bar, and we're gonna see what is it, and we're gonna learn the details about that later. Here is the most important file, which is your Android manifest, but we're gonna get into it in a second. Here are your strings, and this is where you store your strings, because you don't want to, you can actually, but you don't want to put the texts on your controls. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't hard code it. Hard code it in your application, because you pollute your application with English or with whatever other language. So the best way to do it is just save it as a separate resource in a separate file. And this is quite good because right now you can have a multilingual application. So whatever you can just simply provide different strings for different languages, and whenever you would like to add one more language, just add one more string with a different language, and the operating system will pick it up automatically based on the localizations of your device. So it will say, okay, you are using Bosnian or Croatian or whatever localization on your device. It will pick up that string file for you that automatically. I don't know, honestly, I haven't tried before to specify it manually, but I think it is actually possible. It should be possible, and it should be easy, but it needs a little bit of research. So basically, yeah, so you get this string XML, and for almost for every XML file, especially related to Android, you get for it a very nice kind of designer user interface, which is provided you by the ADT Android Development Tools. You can go here, click on this tab, and then you're gonna get the resources. I mean the same string XML, but you're gonna get it instead of this nice UI. You will just see this XML behind it, which is, as you can see here, is quite simple file. Okay, now I will just simply minimize this and go to the Android manifest, and I will close this as well. And as you can see here, Android manifest has a lot of other configurations, and you get a lot of tabs as well over here, and each one of them has a lot of options to configure bazillion stuff. We probably gonna get into them much later during the course, but not right now because we are doing just a simple overview. But if you look over here, you get as well the XML version of your Android manifest, and as you can see here, it describes all the settings which you could set up from here. So whatever you're gonna do here or there, then you're just gonna simply do it. You can as well do it here in this XML editor. So let's try to run our application. Now, of course, this is one of the questions that probably raised right now I mean, after this 10 minutes intro, you're saying, okay, Mohammed, where are we gonna run the application if we don't have a device? And then, yeah, the answer, of course, which you know, is gonna be an emulator, but which one? Now, there is an emulator that's shipped with the SDK, with the ADT bundle. If you downloaded it, there's an image for that, and you can actually start the emulator and just run your applications from there. However, I see it a little bit slow for me, so the emulator probably it's not. You could actually disable your virtualization feature in your BIOS, and you can get even higher speed of your emulator. So if you have virtualization option enabled in your BIOS, just simply disable it, and you will get the emulator running faster, as far as my knowledge goes. In another case, if you have an Intel processor on your machine, you can just simply go ahead and download Jar of Beans. Jar of Beans is developed by a guy and posted on XDA developers. It has a 4.1.1 Jelly Beans ROM, and it is actually rooted. So you can do whatever, everything is unlocked. You can do whatever crazy thing you can ever imagine in there. It has an Android market. You can actually you can really subscribe and download applications using App Market and buy them. I mean, you can do everything as if you are on a real device. And as you can see here, this is the benchmarking tests against other real devices. And of course, as you can see, it's really sky high. It's really fast. Yes, and as I told you already, you can just simply download. Even Angry Birds has been tested on it, so you can download anything. All the applications will work. Also, as far as I read here, it can use your webcam as a real cam. So for example, if you hit the camera button on the emulator, it will just simply run it. You use your webcam as a real camera, so it will be great if you are, for example, trying to do some sort of a camera application. So you can use that in your development. However, you need, as if you have an Intel processor, you're gonna need to install this accelerated execution driver, which you can find if you extract it. So I have actually like extracted the jar of beans this version, and you can see here that you have an extras, you have Intel folder, hardware acceleration or accelerated execution manager, and you just simply install this small file. Please try to restart your machine. Probably it could be a better idea just to make sure that everything is just installed properly after you install this driver. And once you finish everything, once you finish installing this driver, you just simply double click on jar of beans, this one, and you will end up with something like this, which is actually this. And you have to go to the settings and create a default SD card for it. Now it will ask you to create one from 9 to some like a gigabyte or something like that. You don't need that large SD card. You need just simply like I just simply punched in 50. You can punch in even 10 megabytes is even enough for it. And as you can see here, you can specify the screen resolution. So you have portrait, by the way, you have the density, the DPI, and you have the resolution here, so for 800 by 480 and up to whatever other popular resolutions you have. So you're gonna have right now HD resolution. This is more like for TVs or yeah, mainly for TVs, in case if you have I don't know, if you are programming, let's say for Ouya or any kind of a game console like the NVIDIA Project Shield, where you're gonna launch your game or launch your application on a huge screen. So this is the one. And you get the default templates like this Nexus 1, Nexus 7 tablets and phones and all these stuff. So yeah, and I set the RAM to 512. For me, it's quite enough. You can crank it up to 846 if you want to, but I found it's enough, quite enough for us for our working environment. So and once you finish, you just simply hit start, and once you start, you will end up with a window like this, which is a little bit larger than the current screen recording, but yeah, but it actually simulates the same DPI density and the same resolution, so that's why it's a little bit bigger here. And as you can see here, it's actually quite blazingly fast. I'll try just to move this up a little bit here. So here you go, you get the complete operating system without any problems. My advice to you, please just go to the settings. If you don't have it as a button right here, you just, because by the way, I customized it. You could have a different look to it. I just customized it. I just cleaned the stuff up a little bit. So you can go ahead and just simply hit the settings here and go to developers options and enable USB debugging. It's very important to enable it if it is not enabled already, so you need to enable that. And you have other things you can enable for testing. I will not actually play with it. You go ahead and play with it. Try it out. Yeah, so anyway, I'm just gonna go back. And by the way, since we're gonna actually be working right here, I will not need this bottom part yet, so I'll just simply leave it here. And whenever you see, for example, something like this happening, that means that I just simply hit the back button. So I don't need to, you know, like move the stuff oops, up and down. Apparently I minimized everything by mistake. There you go. Okay, so we need to connect to this guy. Now if you actually using the emulator, Android should recognize your emulator immediately, the built-in one in your SDK. If you are using this emulator, this jar of beans, then you're gonna have to connect to it manually. And if you have a phone, you already can just simply hook it up with a USB, and you don't need to worry about this step at all, because if you hook it up over a USB, then the Android ADT will immediately detect it, and will just simply, whenever you launch the application, immediately it will just simply launch on your phone. Just remember to enable USB debugging before you do that, so you make sure like you get nice logcat, so you get logging stuff and so on. So it's gonna be good for you. Now if you are rooted, then you can connect wirelessly to your phone and debug everything over wirelessly debug your application, which is an great feature if you are, again, if you are rooted. So if you are a rooted guy and you would like to root over wireless, please go ahead and actually debug over wireless. Go ahead and download the Play from the Google Play Store. Download the ADB Wireless, and you're gonna do the same steps which I'm gonna do right now here. So I'll go ahead and yeah, where to find the ADB. So if you install the SDK like I did, most probably you're gonna have ADB installed just like that. So you just simply, if I hit ADB here, it just gives me the commands because it's already added in my system path. If you are interested to add ADB in your own system path, you just simply go ahead into your computer properties, and you just simply go to the system settings, and there you go. In the environment variables, you get over here, um, probably it has been installed somewhere by my, yeah, I don't know, it could be installed it should be installed, I believe, somewhere manual, because I could actually type it in, so probably it's installed somewhere in here. So it's in one of those interesting paths. Anyway, you can just simply hit new and type the variable name, let's say ADB, and then you just simply say, or Android debug bridge, and then you just point out to your exe file, ADB exe file, and this is it. And if you don't know where is it, let me just close this, then you can just simply go ahead and navigate to your SDK folder. So if you are on Android SDK, just navigate to your SDK folder. In my case, it's in my program files. It should be actually in your ADT bundle file. So if you open this ADT bundle file folder, I mean, you're gonna get the SDK folder. Once you go in there, find the platform tools, and it's actually inside right here. If you are not interested even in installing the ADB as a system path, you just simply say Shift right click and open command window from here, and you can just simply start typing in ADB, and then it will just get it from there. Okay, and since I have it already installed, I don't need to refer to it anymore like that, so I'm just gonna close this and this, and I can say ADB connect, and then type in my IP address. So if you are connecting over wireless from a physical phone, you're gonna have to type in the wireless, sorry, not the wireless, you're gonna have to type in the IP address of your phone. And if you're using ADB wireless, you're gonna have this command line which shows even your IP address, so you don't need even to seek the IP address inside your phone settings. So you can just simply say ADB connect, and then your IP address and colon, then your port number. Now, because I'm using here jar of beans, I'm gonna have a different probably port number than a physical device, because the physical device usually have 555 4 5s. Here I have a different one, so if I click here on ADB, install APK and others, I get here 5576 as the port number. So I'm gonna just simply return here, and I will say Adobe Connect localhost and 5576. Oh, it's already connected. So if you are not already connected, it will just simply say ADB kill. It just kill the server if it is outdated or something like that, or just connects to it. And if you are not sure, you just simply say, if you're not sure if you are connected or not, ADB devices will list you all the devices that you are connected with through this Android debug bridge service. Okay. I'm gonna minimize that, and I will just simply hit run. Actually, I should be here. Okay, so it asks me which emulator I would like to run on. I'll say okay, I would like to run on my jar of beans, and as you can see here, it asks me auto monitor logcat, and please, yes, I would like to have logcat. So right now I will have logcat shown to me, shows everything what's happening on my device, and I get my application up and running. So there you go, it's a hello world. So I'm gonna hit just back, and I don't know why it doesn't change that much. Let me see. it actually changes with your, well, I don't know, it doesn't change here right now. So basically, yeah, but anyway, it will change eventually. Oh, there you go. So yeah, I will just simply minimize this to have more screen real estate. Okay. Now let's see how our stuff works, how these things are linked in together. So if I collapse this, if you look carefully, main activity is currently my entry point to my application. And by the way, there's no such a thing called void main or int main for Android applications, because they don't have that mentality thing. The application process, this process, this thread of your application is completely managed by the operating system. Even the activities on your or in your application is as well managed by the operating system. So the only thing it's managed in terms of memory, in terms of their if they are stopped, if they are started, and so on and so forth. All these stuff has been managed by the operating system. Nothing is managed by you. So the only thing is what you need to manage is when to save the state and when to send stuff and when to start other activities. This is what you can only do. Now, if you look over here, we are extending, or we are inheriting from an activity class, and we override two functions, which is onCreate and onCreate option menu. Sometimes you will not find even this function implemented for you, but hey, it's implemented for you right now. And this part here, set content view r.layout.main activity. Right now it says that this is an activity, and it is actually pointing to my layout over here. Okay, so how Android knows which activity to launch? If you have multiple activities, which one is gonna launch? And it just simply goes to the Android XML manifest, and if you look carefully, you get all the details about your application. So you get your manifest. This is your Android version of your application. It uses this Android SDK. So this is the minimum version. This is the target version. So 10 is the API again level. 17 is the API level. If you would like to change your API level, just change it from here. And here's your application description. So here's the icon. So it goes to the add drawable folder and just picks up the appropriate launcher icon. The application name is in your strings, as you can see here. So app name fit guide, and if we go back here, the style is your app theme, so it should be somewhere mentioned in your R file. Probably it's already took it out from other configuration file somewhere. Yeah, there you go. Here it is. So here's your theme, and yeah, and then you get started with the activities. So you get these activity nodes inside your application. So as you can see here, my first activity, its name is pointing out to this guy. No, to this guy. There you go. So com.fit.guide.activities, and then main activity.java right there. And again, it sets its label, the label of the activity to the app underscore name. Okay, and because it's actually the first entry point to you, you can actually change it to whatever you want, by the way. And you have an intent filter. Now, if you have multiple activities in your application, you can imagine activities like a website. An activity is more like it's not it's basically what Android, in the Android SDK they define it. It's just a simple not process, but again, it's an activity or a process or a function that the user is interacting with at a time. So for instance, if you are having if let's say I'm launching the calculator. So do I have any other activities here? No. Calendar, probably. Oh, again, I need... Yeah, okay, there you go. So you have here an activity, but it's gonna be because the calendar is a different one. Do I have any other ones that has something different? So let's say, okay, this is my first activity. Okay, okay. Uh, an activity is as a form or a function, or yeah, is a form. Let's say that you are interacting with at a time, and according to Android SDK, a user is dealing with the single activity at a time. He's interacting with an activity at one time. Okay, so you cannot have multiple activities running at the same time. You can have something approximately similar to it, but once we get to message boxes when they pop out or something like that, then you have some sort of, yes, multiple activities, but they are not running at the same time. You will see what I'm talking about when we get to it later. But basically, yeah, this is it. And whenever you hit, for example, let's say this is a new message. Right now I have a completely different activity running, and the other activity behind me has been sent to back in the stack. And I can just simply go back to it by just hitting back button, or just hitting this back button in the bottom at the hardware, or this one. And we're gonna as well know the differences between those two later. Okay, so if you have a multiple activities in your application, you can imagine them like a series of websites, like a website with multiple pages. There's an entry point to your website, which is your index.html, which is in our case this main activity with its activity main layout XML file. But as well, you have activities that other application could link into them. So for example, if you have an application that, let's say, asks you to send SMS. So for example, you have some sort of a Facebook, let's say if you have a Facebook app, for instance, and you have a feature, you would like to say, okay, I would like to send, and I would like to share this post and send the link over SMS or whatever to somebody else. So when you say send by SMS, it will immediately not go to the messaging system, but will fire up this one. And this is because you just simply asked to go directly to this one. You avoided completely the route to the first entry of the application and then go to this activity. No, you just simply went ahead right away and send an SMS. And it is the same thing for applications that are sending emails for you. So for instance, you are trying to share something over email, and it doesn't show you, for example, you say, okay, share over email. It shows you immediately the composing form. It doesn't show you the main inbox, and then you're gonna have to go and compose it by yourself. So this is how applications are going to communicate between each other. They just simply go ahead and just call that activity which they need. Okay. Now there's also one more thing to understand, that when two activities are talking to each other, they are talking to each other through something which is called an intent. And intents, they have their own actions, their categories, their types, and as you can see here, the action of my intent is main. So basically this application is, I'm describing it as my entry point, or this activity, sorry, is the entry point of my application. So whoever is going to launch my application, the intent of launching it to go to the main starting point, this is gonna be my main starting point. So that's why it has the action main. And to further narrow down, because you have several types of intents, you have something which is called explicit and something which is called implicit, and we're gonna talk about it later. But basically, if you would like to narrow down the causes why I'm gonna launch this activity specially, it's because it's a main and it is under the category of launcher. So whoever is gonna launch my activity, like for example pressing on a button from my screen, so let me see, there you go, you see it's installed right here in my application. So I just simply hit on it and hit it or click on it and just will start. This is because it's a launcher as well. So whoever is going to launch my application, it will just launch from there. Okay. Once we start adding other activities, you will just get another activity added right under this one. And you can of course add everything manually if you want to. but I will show you just the easy UI way of clicking, click, click, and then you can just simply generate the stuff, so it will be a lot easier for you to do that. If you would like to learn how these stuff are being hooked up manually, you could how these stuff are actually being hooked up and everything, you can create each file separately. You can create your own Java file separately, create the XML file separately, and then go over here into the manifest file and just hook up everything. Okay, that if you would like to learn how to get that process, and it's really easy, and I can show you in one of the other lessons in during our series. All right, so let's get things a little bit more interesting, shall we? So um, I will just simply do the same, do the famous Hello World kind of application for any user interface, kind of, how can I say, um, any Windows Phone layout or something like that. I will just go over here and we'll minimize this piece here and this guy over here so we can get a little bit more screen real estate. And I will just remove this guy, remove this text, and I will put here the large text so for this recording so you can see it easily. And I will grab a plain edit text. I'll just push it right here and expand it until the end. And I will as well, I will just grab a button and I'll just put it right there. Okay. Now, as you can see here, I get the 3 warnings, and if I click on it, you get warnings in the layout, and we're gonna see why, and we're gonna see how to fix them. And if you look over here in the properties pane, I would like to change the ID of my button, so I'm just gonna go over here and I'll just simply say btn send, and I will just simply refactor, change everything. And as you can see here, what I'm gonna do here is just when I hit this button, I will take whatever text I typed here and I will show the text written in this on this text label, or this view text view, as Android calls it. So if I go here to the my main activity.xml, you can see here I have my XML file describes everything for me. So it describes the text view and describes the edit text, and as you can see here, even the relative position. So for example, Android layout below text view 1. So actually this edit text is below text view. As you can see here, this is the text view and this is my edit text, and the button, and you can see it, it's actually below edit text as well, and it is aligned to the left of it as well. So there you go. Now as you can see here, I get a couple warnings here, and as you can see, label is hard-coded, so you don't want to pollute your code by having everything hard-coded right here. Okay, so you need probably to put it in the strings XML, and we're gonna see how to refer to it in a second. Edit text here, it says that it doesn't have a hint or an input type, so it's good as well to specify, are you inputting numbers or regular text, as well as you should give a hint. Of course, on mobile devices you don't have labels. I mean, you could put labels, but there's no such big space on the screen of the phone, and every pixel is very precious. So you're probably gonna need to put a hint in your text boxes instead of putting labels, as we usually done in Windows applications, on desktop applications. Okay, so I'm gonna go here into my graphical layout. I'll just simply expand this. I'll go to my strings XML over here, and I could either type it here, or I could just simply add my strings here. It's exactly the same, trust me. So I'll add one here and I'll show you. So add string, here is gonna be btn send, and here the value is gonna be send, and Control S to save, and once you hit Control S, it will just save the string. And if you don't save your strings, and you try, for example, you typed your stuff there, and then you go here and you try to find it out, it won't work. So you have to save your stuff first. The other way around is just simply say, and if you hit Control Space, you get string, and here it's gonna have a name, and here I'm gonna give it txt message, and as a name for it, oh, actually, LBL message probably, and your message. Actually, I'm gonna call this TXT message hint. Your message goes here. Okay, and hit Control S. And I will not worry about this because this one is already it will already lose its text in the program anyway, so I'm gonna ignore that warning. And in the text view, I'm gonna call this LBL message and update all the references please and hit OK, yes. So it will actually rename it across the code, so you are referring to it multiple times, so it will actually change. So here change, so here change as well. And the edit text, I will change it as well here, so I'm gonna call this txt message, hit OK and yes sir. And for the button, now we need to deal with these warnings, so I will just come over here in the edit text, and it asks me for an input hint and a type, so okay, I will do that. So I'll just simply type in Android and colon, and you can have input or hint, as far as I remember, hint, not hunt, but hint. And here I'm gonna have, I could just simply control space, string, control space, message change. I'll just rename this, and I will, and as you can see here, you get an error because you are referring to something which doesn't exist. And okay, sorry about that, I didn't notice. So it is message hint, and the button, I'm just gonna erase this and gonna put string btn send. So right now it will be renamed to send automatically. As you can see here, your message goes here as well. And I will add here, which I failed to notice. By the way, you can add either one of those, so either a hint or the input type, but anyway, I'm just gonna add both. So Android input type, and then it's gonna be text. Okay, so we had both, and I'm gonna hit run. I haven't programmed anything yet, so just, hang on. Try to run right now. There you go. So there you go. You see, you get your text, you can type your stuff, and then your button is clickable. Now we need to program all this. What did I do? What did I do? What did I do? I actually closed it by mistake, so I'm just gonna start it again. Sorry about that. And until we start that, and of course ADB connection right now is gonna scream at me that I lost the connection, so don't worry about this. We can actually, if in case you have done this before, well, okay, it will take some time until it boots, so I'm just simply gonna throw it right there, and then we're gonna deal with that later. So how we can detect on button click. So what I'm gonna do here is go to my main XML, and on my button click I will just simply add one more event. So I will just simply add Android on click, and here I will type the method which I'm gonna call when I click on that button. So I'm gonna call here on click underscore btn send, like the same sort of C# naming convention, which I love the most because it's much more clear for me. And here you're gonna have to type in your the same exact name of the function. You cannot type any other function, okay? And you cannot put it private. It has to be public void the name of the function, and it accepts a view v, for example, whatever. It has to have this because it actually finds your button through reflections. We're gonna talk probably about that later. And here you're gonna start, hunting for your controls and just referring to them. And there you go, my emulator just finished starting. So There you go. So yeah, my emulator's just started. So great. Now, how to get the controls? Now, on create inside this method, you should start parsing out your um, your XML file and getting out your controls from there. So what I'm gonna do here is have couple variables. So first of all, I'm gonna have an edit text um, txt message and a view text view LBL message. Edit text and text view are the classes for my. This is the edit text, and this is the text view. So this is the class of these two controls. So edit text and text view. And if I go over here, I have to get them from my XML. So what I'm gonna do here is just say txt message equals to. I will cast this. So edit text and then find view by ID. It's a function which you have built inside your activity, and then you have to say r dot, because it's a resource and it's in my XML ID dot, and then I will just simply grab this guy. You see? So this is how I get my control from there. And the same thing goes for the LBL message equals to text view find view by ID r dot ID dot LBL message. So there you go. And on click LBL message dot set text, and it takes a character sequence. Here I'm gonna have txt message dot get text, and it gives me an editable. Now an editable is something else, so I need to convert this to a string, so to string, and it will actually work. Okay, a character sequence, I believe it's it inherits as well from a string class, so it has, yes, as you can see here, I mean it's a derivative of a string class. So basically this is it. So we can just simply go ahead and run our application. So double click and it runs it. So great, and you get logcat as well, so I'm just gonna pin it right down there. And right here I'm just gonna say hello world, and it says hello world as well, so great. So this is great. Oops, sorry. Apparently I pressed the long shift, so there you go. Alright, so this is pretty much it for our hello world app. Now I will just stop right there. You can actually experiment and try on your own, like couple of things in these controls, and then in the next lesson I'm going to show you what is the activities life cycle, and how to send and how to activate or send an intent to another activity to get some certain data. So for example, I would like to send an object or send a message from one activity to another, and I will show you how this actually is done. Okay, so I believe this is it for this lesson. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you in the next lesson.